August 5th, 2024. Mayor Anderson is on vacation, so I am presiding tonight. I call the City Council regular session into order. And if everyone would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Council, we have an agenda in front of us. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have our agenda. Okay, item D, approval of the minutes. We have the July 15th minutes and the July 22nd minutes. We have a motion on those.
I'll move to approve the July 15, 2024 regular meeting minutes and the July 22, 2024 study session minutes. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No one opposed. We have approved the minutes. Our guest council person for August is going to be Kayla Bowman. She is a new teacher at the high school here. However, she is on her honeymoon for this week, so she will join us for our next weeks. Item F is public comments for any items not on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes unless it is presiding officer. All remarks should be addressed to the council as a whole, not to any individual members. Do we have any public comments? Not seeing anybody rise, we'll go to item G is our consent calendar. Council, we have our consent calendar of 9 items. Do we have a motion on those?
I'll move approval of the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We approved the consent calendar. Regular business. If anyone here wishes to speak on any item on tonight's regular business agenda, please come to the microphone before we get to that item on the agenda so that the presiding officer knows that you would like to speak and can be recognized. If you are not at the podium at the time the council reaches that item on the agenda, you might not be recognized. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes unless additional time is granted by the presiding officer. All remarks should be addressed to the council as a whole and not to any individual member. Okay, regular business. Resolution 24-135, a resolution calling a special city election on the issuance of not to exceed $5,475,000 general obligation bonds for the Golf Clubhouse. We have a motion on that.
I'll move approval of resolution 24-135, a resolution calling a special city election on the issuance of not to exceed $5,475,000 general obligation bonds for the Golf Clubhouse.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this? Or, I guess, you guys talked about it at study session last time, I believe, so I don't know if, James, you have anything additional to say on just calling for the special election?
Sure, this actually establishes the ballot language, which allows us to get the county auditor to get it on the election itself. So a lot of this language came from Allers and Cooney, our attorneys, bond attorneys in Des Moines, with the help of Spear Financial, so they have crafted this. So it's inclusive enough that we can do what we need to do if the funding goes through in the vote.
Okay.
And as you mentioned last time, the amount is sort of a, I won't say worst case scenario, but involves contingencies and
Yes, ma'am.
gives us enough to get it done.
We have enough contingency in there. We hope that if anything is found that was unanticipated, would not delay the project or cancel it. It should allow us to finish.
Okay. Any further discussion? Carla, roll call vote on this?
Bergen.
Yes.
Drinkow.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Rafi.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
By a vote of 7 yes, 0, we have asking to put that on the ballot for November. Item 2 is Resolution 24-145, a resolution calling a special city election on the issuance of not to exceed $8,950,000 general obligation bonds for the pool. We have a motion on this.
I'll move approval of Resolution 24-145, a resolution calling a special city election on the issuance of not to exceed $8,950,000 general obligation bonds for the pool.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this? Okay, roll call vote.
Drinkow?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Kangas?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Rafi?
Yes.
Wolf?
Yes.
Bergen?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 against. We moving to put that one on the ballot. People have something to vote for this November. Resolution, item number 3 is Resolution 24-136, a resolution naming depositories for the city of Waverly. Do we have a motion on this?
Move to approve Resolution 24-136, a resolution naming depositories for the city of Waverly.
Second.
Moved and seconded. James, just a real quick clarification on,
We've added Denver Savings Bank since they relocated into the area. That allows them to then receive funds if the county or the city chooses to put some of our allocated funds into that. So this is just adding Denver Savings Bank and reestablishing all the other banks we've used.
The question that I had, James, was how do we come up with these maximum numbers? Is it based on a percentage of their deposits or just?
I'll have to defer to Val. I know there's a magic hat we pull from, but other than that, I don't know much past that. So Val, is there a methodist to this that we're doing?
So basically, I set the balances for all the ones except for like First National Bank, because I also handles our checking to be all the same. So they would all have the same ones, like as you can see, Fidelity and Cresco, they all have the same kind of a balance. I would look at what are we looking to invest. I know what we have for CDs, so I make sure that they would be able to have that amount. And then I also increased the UMB Bank ones up another 5 million, thinking of the bond referendum come up if it should pass. So those were how I came up with those. Did I kind of answer that?
Okay, so the maximums are reflective of what we feel we may be depositing in those banks, not necessarily any kind of statement as to what we feel is the condition of the bank. Okay.
Yeah.
okay. Any further discussion on that? Roll call vote.
Jones?
Yes.
Kangas?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Rafi?
Yes.
Wolf?
Yes.
Bergen?
Yes.
Drinkow?
Yes.
7 yeses, 0 opposed. We approved 24-136. Item 4 is the second reading of Ordinance 1151, an ordinance amending Chapter 100, Sections 100.21.09, Special Provisional Uses, 100.5, A1 Agricultural District, 100.6, 100.6 R1 Residential District, 100.6A Residential District, 100.7 R2 Residential District, 100.8 R3 Residential District, 100.9 R4 Residential District, 100.12 C1 Neighborhood Commercial District, 100.13 C2 Commercial District, 100.16 M2 Heavy Industrial District, Section 100.18 U1 Environmentally Sensitive Protected District of the Waverly City Code, and setting a public hearing. Motion.
I will move approval of the second reading of Ordinance 1151, an ordinance amending Chapter 100, Sections 100.21.09 Special Provisional Uses, 100.5A1 Agricultural District, 100.6, 100.6 R1 Residential District, 106A Residential District, 107 R2 Residential District, 100.8 R3 Residential District, 100.9 R4 Residential District, 100.12 C1 Neighborhood Commercial District, 100.13 C2 Commercial District, 100.16 M2 Heavy Industrial District, Section 100.18 U1 Environmentally Sensitive Protected District of the Waverly City Code, and setting a public hearing for August 19th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers at City Hall.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Second reading, okay, roll call vote.
Kangas?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Rafi?
Yes.
Wolf?
Yes.
Bergen?
Yes.
Drinkow?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
7 yeses, 0 opposed. Approved second reading and set public hearing for ordinance 1151. Item 5 is Resolution 24-137, a resolution approving an agreement with Harold Creek Surveying of New Hampton, Iowa to survey the site located at 501 Fifth Avenue Southwest, Waverly, Iowa, the municipal swimming pool. We have a motion on this.
I'll move to approve Resolution 24-137, a resolution approving an agreement with Harold Reich Surveying, HRS, of New Hampton, Iowa, to survey the site located at 501 Fifth Avenue Southwest, Waverly, Iowa, the municipal swimming pool, for the amount of $4,000.
Second.
We'll give that one to Bergen with motion and second. Council discussion, or city administrator, just quick explanation.
This is starting on that process we talked about last meeting. We'll do this, you have geotechnical coring on the next one, then we'll get to engineering. So we'll have things ready in anticipation of a positive vote. If it doesn't happen, obviously this will still stay until it does, if it does. But we just wanted to be ahead of the game, so the timing of it would work out to be accelerating the process if possible. So you'll see this again later is geotechnical work, and then engineering, we should have a proposal in a few weeks.
And this fund-wise, we've got within engineering or within?
We have it within the capital fund.
Have it within?
That's the best I can tell you right now.
Okay.
And it all depends on, this is all reimbursable.
It
and
goes
so
back into the, once.
We'll deal with that come November, how we replace it or don't replace it.
Okay. I mean, it's 4,000 among the projects that we do, not really big, but it's.
Absolutely.
It's with their reimbursable out of, if bonds pass too, so.
Yep.
Okay, any other council discussion? Roll call vote?
Myers.
Yes.
Rocky.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Bergen.
Yes.
Drinkow.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes. By a vote of 7 yes, 0 opposed. 24-137 is agreed to. Item 6 is Resolution 24-138, a resolution approving a U.S. Geological Survey Central Midwest Water Science Center Standard Joint Funding Agreement with the City of Waverly. We have a motion on that.
I'll move approval of Resolution 24-138, a resolution approving a one-year period of October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025, U.S. Geological Survey Central Midwest Water Science Center Standard Joint Funding Agreement with the City of Waverly, Iowa, for an annual amount of $11,700.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
This is the river gauge, USGS agreement for the river gauge for maintenance net going forward. I don't know if there's anything you want to add, Justin?
Do we have one? We have one in place now?
Yep.
And it's a yearly contract?
Yes, sir.
Every year, okay.
I thought there was an issue with getting accurate readings because of the dam, which is why we were always relying on Charles City and Cedar Falls.
Charles City and Janesville, we try to
Janesville.
get it off of, yes, sir. Once the dam is completely down, it reads accurately, but the time dam doing its job, it's holding the water at a certain level artificially above where it would have been. So it does take readings, it's just not effective until the dam is completely down and the river is truly where it's gonna be.
So kind of in an emergency situation is where we're going to be getting the readings that are useful.
Yep.
You can get those historical gauges to compare and then.
Yep, and so we do the historical work between the others until we get to that point to confirm, and then we adjust accordingly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the problem is that all the historical data from before the deflatable dam was put in is rendered useless. So we can basically, history starts when the new dam went in, and all the readings since then. So we're depending on a lot of the historical data from Janesville and Charles City. And then once it's been, 20, 30 years, then we can have a history of data from this gauge.
Right, because right now we depend on 2013, 2016, 2021, the recent flood, and they haven't been as extensive, but you are correct, at some point it will get to where we have that historical data of our own.
I'm just curious with the government and all of the acronyms they like to put in things, I wonder how they managed to pronounce this acronym. Anyway, can we get to a roll call vote on this then? No more discussion.
Rocky.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Bergen.
Yes.
Drinkow.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 opposed. We agreed to keep our gauge going. Resolution 24-139 is a resolution approving contract bond certificate of insurance from Peterson Contractors Incorporated of Rhinebeck, Iowa for the Tailrace wall removal project and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. We have a motion on this.
I'll move approval of Resolution 24-139, a resolution approving contract, bonds, and certificate of insurance for Peterson Contractors Incorporated of Rhinebeck, Iowa, for the Tailrace Wall Removal Project for a contract sum of $105,352.50 and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract.
Second.
Moved and seconded. This is just part of the project, getting rid of what we don't need anymore.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion from council? Roll call vote?
Wolf,
Yes.
Bergen.
Yes.
Drinkow.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Rafi.
Yes.
Vote is 7-0. Moved back forward. Item 8 is Resolution 24-140, a resolution approving change order number 1, accepting the bituminous seal coat program 2024 as complete, approving pay application number 1 and approving pay application number 2 as the final payment to Blacktop Service Company of Humboldt, Iowa. Do we have a motion on this?
I'll move to approve Resolution 24-140, a resolution approving change order number 1 in the amount of a $1,157.88 decrease, accepting the bituminous seal coat program 2024 as complete, approving pay application number 1 in the amount of $219,140.69, and approving pay application number 2 in the amount of $11,547.93 as a final payment to Blacktop Service Company of Humboldt, Iowa.
Second.
Give that one to Dr. Rathi. Any discussion on this? Roll call vote?
Bergen.
Yes.
Drinkow.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Rafi.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Okay, by a vote of 7-0, 24-140 is adopted. Resolution, or item number 9 is Resolution 24-141, a resolution approving the sale of the 2013 Ford F-250 utility truck to Crystal Heating, Plumbing, and Excavation. Do we have a motion on this?
I move to approve Resolution 24-141, a resolution approving the sale of the 2013 Ford F-250 utility truck to Crystal Heating, Plumbing, and Excavation for $10,400.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this?
Is this the first time we've used govdeals.com?
No, we've used them quite a bit on different items. We've got really good luck getting some pretty good prices from them.
Okay. Yeah, I saw 17 bids, so clearly there is
Yeah.
an interest.
You can set your reserve, and we basically met our reserve, what we figured we'd get for trade above that, so.
Good.
Is it almost like an, excuse me, online auction though? People can up their bid up until the closing?
Correct, and actually, once someone bids at the end, it automatically auto renews for another 5 minutes, I believe it is. So then the next bidder has a chance to bid if they keep, so you can't bid last second. So we have that set to do that. Gets a little exciting at the end. Go, go, go. More.
There was many a time we do this locally and you'd get a couple $1,000s for a truck. Now
Yeah.
you're getting 7 or 8, or in this case 10-4. It has really extended the value of these vehicles, which helps us in our trade-in, which lessens the cost of repairs for payment. So it's been really good for us.
And the buyer pays the premium.
Buyer does pay the premium.
I would just add too that maybe you haven't seen it, that we use deals.com because we bring things to council according to our policy up to 10,000 or over. So anything less would not come to.
We don't see it. Okay.
So when it's a really nice item that people are bidding on, then we get to see it.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay. All right, roll call vote on this, please.
Drinkow.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Rafi.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Bergen.
Yes.
Vote is 7-0, we sold the truck. Item 10 is Resolution 24-142, resolution approving an agreement with Chosen Valley Testing Incorporated, CVT, to perform a geotechnical evaluation for the proposed aquatic center and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement. We have a motion on this, please.
I'll move approval of Resolution 24-142, a resolution approving an agreement with Chosen Valley Testing, Inc., CVT, of Cedar Falls, Iowa, to perform a geotechnical evaluation of the proposed aqua center for a not-to-exceed amount of $4,300 and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement.
Second.
It's moved and seconded, and this is, you mentioned this earlier, this is part of the pool project, getting information available for moving forward.
Yes, sir.
So I understand that we're getting these things in place for the pool so that we can hit the ground running and get the pool replaced and in place as quickly as possible, so that we kind of don't have to deal with too many more summers without the pool. Are we doing anything similar for the golf clubhouse, or we feel that that's less urgent?
We're talking to the architects now to see if they're gonna move forward with a similar idea. So
Okay.
I'm hoping that we'll get to that point, you see the similar thing coming from the golf course. It's just a little more behind than the pool is.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote?
Jones,
Yes.
Kangas,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Rocky,
Yes.
Wolf,
Yes.
Bergen,
Yes.
and Drinkow.
Yes.
Vote is 7-0. That passes. Item 11 is Resolution 24-143, a resolution setting a bid letting date for August 27, 2024, and setting a public hearing date for September 9, 2024, for the review of the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated costs for the alley reconstruction 2024 and concrete projects. May I get a motion on this?
I'll move approval of Resolution 24-143, a resolution setting a bid letting date for August 27th, 2024, and setting a public hearing date for September 9th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers at City Hall for the review of the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated costs for the alley reconstruction 2024 and concrete projects.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this?
So this is kind of in 3 different locations. We've got kind of the alley, and then we've got Eagle Ridge Drive, and then the City Hall. So,
We just added our projects all together, it's all flat work, we get better quantity pricing on that. And the
Sure.
guys that win it usually do a lot better coming in for multiple projects versus a couple strips of sidewalk.
And is this the only alley that's being done this year then?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it's a little more involved than some of them have been, so it'd be good to get this one done.
No further discussion? Go ahead with the roll call vote.
Kangas,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Rocky,
Yes.
Wolf,
Yes.
Bergen,
yes.
Drinkow,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Vote is 7-0, move forward with that. Item 12 is Resolution 24-144, a resolution setting a bid letting date for August 27, 2024, and setting a public hearing date for the review of plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated costs for the fuel station project at the Public Services Facility. Go for discussion first or motion first?
Motions.
Let's go motion.
I will move approval of Resolution 24-144, a resolution setting a bid letting date for August 27th, 2024, and setting a public hearing date for September 9th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers at City Hall for the review of the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimated costs for the fuel station project at the Public Services Facility.
Second.
Moved and seconded. See, Mr. Campbell has risen.
John Campbell, 1001 10th Avenue Southwest. I have just a question. I've been watching this in the newspaper and being brought up. Was there any investigation into the additional insurance cost for that amount of fuel being kept on site? Because I have personally ran into it before, many years ago, and it is considerably more expensive for a small business to even meet the required berming is part of it, the raised, but it is an additional cost, and I just wondered if it was investigated as to whether or not that insurance cost is going to really benefit the city in what they're anticipating, I believe it was 7 years, to recoup your cost. That's a question that I have as a citizen, is whether or not that had been investigated. Thank you.
Justin?
I don't know if you want to comment, Justin?
I did have conversations with the insurance company, as though they didn't give me an exact number. They weren't concerned with the scope of what the city has as a policy. As long as we follow the fire marshal recommendations of 50 foot from the building and other requirements. The tanks are double walls with electronic sensors inside, so they follow all the rules of what the fire marshal requires. The only different stipulation might be a fire code for the tank itself, and that's basically a liner inside the tank. A new requirement that's coming out lately. So as long as we follow those codes, insurance company, I didn't see it have a big problem with it.
Thank you. Council discussion?
Would there be an increase in premiums then or not?
I would assume yes with it. Like I said, I didn't have an exact number.
I mean, just on the sheer value of the property when it's done, we will have an increase in premium, but I don't think it'll be substantial. We had fuel tanks prior as a city, and they were taken away and they were bringing them back in a different location, above ground versus in ground. So it may be a slight increase, but I don't think it's going to be as big as people would think. We have such a massive amount of property and buildings and value. It's going to take a lot more than that to move that needle too much.
I have a meeting with ICAP this week actually for at another project in sewer plant in town, so I can bring that question up to them. More definitely.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Myers?
Yes.
Rafi?
Yes.
Wolf?
Yes.
Bergen?
Yes.
Drinkow?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Kangas?
Yes. A vote of 7-0. Move forward with that. Item 13 is a resolution 24-146, a resolution directing the city administrator to cause an engineering and traffic investigation to be made as required by section 105.3.06 of the Waverly Municipal Code as a condition precedent to reduce the speed limit on 10th Avenue Southwest from the intersection with Highway 3 to the intersection with 4th Street Southwest. We have a motion on this.
I'll move approval of Resolution 24-146, a resolution directing the city administrator to cause an engineering and traffic investigation to be made as required by Section 105.3.06 of the Waverly Municipal Code as a condition precedent to reduce the speed limit on 10th Avenue Southwest from the intersection with Highway 3 to the intersection with 4th Street Southwest.
Second.
Move that to Julie. Okay, Mr. Campbell again.
John Campbell, 10th Avenue Southwest. First of all, I'd like to thank the city street department for all the pothole filling that took place a week ago on 10th. And it's deeply appreciated. Wished it had been sooner, but at least it's done now. I have a question for you. The resolution before you, 24-146, states that it was required in section 105.3.06. I was not able to find that requirement. And I do not believe when the speed limit was increased that it was required. If so, could I see that?
I have no idea. I didn't write the resolution, sir.
It says that we are, whenever we determine upon the basis of an engineering and traffic
Right.
study, so we are required to do it.
If you're going to lower the speed limit.
Yeah,
So if you're going to lower it, you have to have it.
or raise it, it looks like, greater or less
It
than.
changes, I read it.
And I don't know when that came into place, if it's been changed in the last 20 years since that road went in. Again, I've not researched it, so
I
I
don't
did not
know.
write this resolution. So.
And it's possible that when the speed limit was changed, if it was changed, they just ignored this requirement.
That's
That
also
happens
possible.
all the time, too.
Absolutely possible.
But at this point, you deem it absolutely necessary to do this? And approximately how long would it take to get what you're asking be done? Are we talking about 30 days, 60 days?
I don't know. If council approves this, then we'll get a hold of the engineering firms and determine that. At this
Okay,
point,
if
I
the
don't know.
council does not approve it, and just elects to ignore it, you can't change it, is
I
what
take
you're
my
saying?
direction from the council. So if they tell me not to do it, I will not. If they tell me to do it, I will.
Okay. Well, just for the council's information, it is not an engineered study, but I did take the time to check, and the speed reduction from 45 to 35 miles an hour on the detour as it is now for Highway 3 is 1 minute and 9 seconds difference. So by decreasing it to 35 miles an hour, going the correct speed limit, 35 and 45, the time increased is 1 minute and 9 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Meyer.
Actually, I would like to speak to both items 13 and 14, if you will let me, so I don't have to get up again. I want to support both of these resolutions. Item 13 for the traffic study, the ordinance was put in place for a very good reason. You don't mess with the speed limits unless it's done for a good analysis and good reasons. I believe that any changes, if they're necessary, and I hope that you won't jump to the conclusion it needs a change immediately, but any changes, if it's necessary, need to be done based upon facts and statistics and analysis of the accidents and all of that done by an engineering study. Item 14 is the resolution to restrict truck traffic or to restrict traffic in general. That street was built to support truck traffic. One of the last little projects I did working in my retirement thing with the city as a special project engineer was to go through that. I walked it. I actually marked all the patches that needed to go through for a full depth patching project, did an estimate, and I hope that that's still around somewhere. I put those all on a set of plans. And you got to remember, that thing's over 20 years old. I think the date on the plans was 1999, and I'm uncertain whether it was 99, 2000, 2001. But it's over 20 years old. Obviously, it's going to be worn. There's going to be patching and potholes and whatever. The important thing is that, you know, you understand that, which you do, and it needs to be budgeted for repair at some point in time. Excuse me. The discussion after I got done with that estimate is whether we should do it, or whether the city should do it before the bridge project or after the bridge project, because they knew the bridge project was going to be in place. And that estimating was all done in, I think it was the summer of 2000, so it's 4 years ago already. Point being, it was a good decision, I think, to wait until it's done, because maybe we can get some DOT participation, the city, when I say we, the city can get some DOT participation in the thing, and I understand it's been videoed and all of those kinds of things. Any restrictions on that for truck traffic, I have no idea how the city would ever enforce it. The only way you can do that legally is to start weighing the trucks. And I've went through that in another community, and the only way you can do it is get a scale, and you're going to have to stop the trucks, and you're going to have to weigh them and see if they're over. You got to also remember that you got businesses out there that take truck deliveries. How do you restrict that? You can't, you know. It just can't be done. You need to encourage traffic, not restrict it out there, as the resolution says. I looked at a planning study that was done by Council of Governments, North of Intercog, and they listed the completion of that bypass as one of their banner corridor projects. Our own comprehensive plan that you folks adopted, goal number 2 under transportation is develop a comprehensive system that provides accessible to traditional as well as alternative transportation corridors. Strategies, prioritize maintenance and improvement of transportation infrastructure similar to recent projects like Cedar River Parkway and 10th Street Southwest. Another, maximize traffic efficiency along major roadways. Number 4, coordinate transportation plans with city and regional governments or agencies. Anything you do to restrict traffic on that thing, to me, is contrary to our own comprehensive plan. You know, I am on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm not speaking as a Planning and Zoning Commission member particularly, but I look at that comp plan every time we get something before us. And I think it's important, you know, to believe in it, okay? I guess I'd introduce myself. I'm John Meyer. I live at 1300 Shepherd Avenue here in Waverly. Thank you.
Council discussion.
Well, my first inclination when I came here tonight was to vote against Resolution 24-146, mainly because I think that we want, one of the purposes of the 10th Avenue Parkway project was to encourage people to use that as an alternative for through traffic, as an alternative to driving through downtown. And one of the ways you encourage people to use a highway like that is by having a higher speed limit. But I would certainly not be opposed to having that taken, to have a look at it with all of the additional development that's gone on out there, if maybe that's no longer an appropriate speed. It certainly was when there was really nothing out there. So I'm still rather skeptical that anything that we do, any kind of study is going to say, yeah, we need to lower the speed limit. But if there is a study actually done that says, yes, the speed limit's too high, we need to lower it for whatever reasons, I think it might be a good idea to take a look at it, depending on how expensive it's going to be to have the study done. I mean, if it's going to be an incredibly expensive study, which I doubt,
It should.
I would prefer to have a study done, take a look at it so we know what we're looking at. The other thing, and just one more thing, I'm sorry, Julie, but popped into my mind that we could always, as a council, delete that language out of section 105.3.06 if we wanted to and just make a decision on our own. But I think, as Mr. Meyer said, there's a reason why that is in there, that we don't make these decisions on speed limits based on political expediency, but we use them based on people's, on expert testimony.
That's kind of the comment that I was going to make, Rod. I feel very strongly that decisions that we make need to be fact-based, and if we don't have the facts, then we can't make fully informed decisions. My only question was what the expected cost would be, and I couldn't see that in here anywhere. But
Well, that'll vary by firm and scope, and so it will not be a substantial amount.
then I think we need to get the facts.
I find myself in a similar situation to Rod, that I was kind of thinking of voting against this, but I actually think John Meyer made a good point that, you know, we should look at a study, we should base our decisions on that study rather than just kind of what we think. So, and again, if it's not a very expensive study, it's worth doing just so we have the facts at our disposal.
And I think that could be useful even if we don't make any changes at this time going forward. If the question comes up again in 5 or 10 years when traffic patterns have changed somehow, we have some data that we can go back and look at.
So,
I think it's important to have data to make decisions. Looking at these accident logs, a couple of things pop out at me that I just wanted to mention. The 7 accidents at the intersection of 10th Avenue and Highway 3, there were 7 accidents. That's the 35-mile-per-hour zone already.
Yep.
Which leads me to my next point. When you look at the 5 accidents up above, most of these are driver error, single vehicle accident, a merge, a change lane, a rear end, and pulling out. I mean, those could happen at 35 miles per hour as well, just as easily as 45. So, by all means, let's get some data, but we need to look at it, you know, with a critical eye as well, the data we receive.
I'm okay with that. My one, when I'm looking at the what's in the city code, is it doesn't explicitly say the council has to do a study. It simply says, if we decide to make a change because of a study. It doesn't say we have to have the study to make a change. So, which is kind of, maybe we want to clear that up a little bit to say we need to do a study in order to make a change. It just simply says, when the city decides to make on the basis of a study, it doesn't say that we can't go ahead and make it without the basis of a study. So, I'm in agreement with Julie that having the data to make the informed decision makes sense, but that's not what the ordinance
But
actually says.
basically what it says is if you determine upon the basis of a study that a speed limit can be changed or you want to change it, then you're going to adopt it by an ordinance.
Basically
that
says if you
doesn't sound
want
to
to
me like
use a
it's
study to
optional.
change it, you can, but you don't have to use the study to change it.
Well, it says you make your determination upon the basis of a study, though.
Shall.
That's how I read it.
Not will, shall.
Oh. Okay. Well, I think it's good to have data. Because, I mean, apparently the speed limit got changed and we have no idea why. And so it'd be nice to have a little data and
They may have interpreted they didn't need to. 'cause
they may have,
as well.
they may have been
It-
splitting hairs with shall versus will, I don't know.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote?
Rafi,
Yes.
Wolf,
Yes.
Bergen,
Yes.
Drinkow,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kangas,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
7-0, call for this traffic study. Item 14 is Resolution 24-147, resolution confirming that it is policy of the City Council that trucks and other commercial vehicles traveling through Waverly be encouraged and directed to use the 10th Avenue Southwest Cedar River Parkway corridor as an alternative to using Highway 3 Bremer Avenue. We have a motion?
I'll move. Go ahead.
I'll move, I'm sorry. A little air pocket in my brain. I'll move approval of Resolution 24-147, a resolution confirming that it is policy of the City Council that trucks and other commercial vehicles traveling through Waverly be encouraged and directed to use the 10th Avenue Southwest Cedar River Parkway corridor as an alternative to using Highway 3 Bremer Avenue.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Campbell?
John Campbell, 1001 10th Avenue Southwest. Trying to stay with the council's policy, I'll address this in order. Item 14, or excuse me, yes, item 14. Was that decided upon because of my request to put an embargo and to decrease the speed? Because if it is, was that consideration given to when you elected to put the ball diamonds where they're at? And you now have 2 crosswalks where you need at least 3 or 4? Because if you haven't been in that area when they're into tournament play, you'll find that individuals don't necessarily obey the crosswalks. And I have seen kids try to rush across from the soccer field to the ball diamonds, riding a bike, pushing on a scooter. So if you're wanting the council to state that it is your intent to put truck traffic and maintain the type of speed that they can with no consideration for the weight, and contrary to a statement earlier made about accidents can happen, someone pulling out or turning in, the frequency may not change. The dollar amount will certainly change if that truck is 80,000 pounds and hits somebody who pulled out in air. Their fault, but the amount of damage and the severity is going to be greatly increased. I don't think it's proper for the city council to make this kind of statement about the traffic. I think it sets a precedence in that that's the way you need to address all the items that you take care of in the council. Meaning you as a council, not we as citizens, want the truck traffic and the speed. Thank you.
Council discussion?
So I just had a question of how this resolution came to be and whether it was necessary to state it, because I can't remember if the signage coming off Highway through recommends that as a truck route.
No.
There's no signage for that? Okay. So what's the origin of this resolution?
I'll take ownership of this. I'm the one that drafted the resolution, presented it, just basically as a response to the suggestion that we encourage people to use Highway 3, or truck traffic at least, to use Highway 3 as opposed to the 10th Avenue, Cedar Valley Parkway area. There have been, I've talked to, several times I've proposed that there be a sign that's put up on the entry to that road that indicates that it is a alternate truck route, to try to encourage truckers who are not aware of the existence of that road to not go through downtown. I would imagine that most truckers probably are aware by this time. They have some kind of a messaging board or something that says when you get to Waverly, take this road rather than go through downtown. That message goes out pretty quickly. But I think that this is probably not necessary, because if this resolution is voted down, it just basically means that nothing happens. I mean, that we're not doing anything with this resolution. All the resolution is doing is stating that it's our policy that we want to have trucks and through town commercial vehicles not come through Railroad Avenue.
So if we're not doing anything with it, why have a resolution? Because the problem is, if you think it's unnecessary, if you think it's stating something that we typically wouldn't state, or it's not necessarily going to make a difference of where trucks go. If you vote against it, then you could be perceived as wanting trucks to go down Bremer Avenue. You see what I mean? And so then you're caught between a rock and a hard place, right?
Well, that's the
And
point.
have we ever approached the DOT and said we would like a sign that says this is an alternate truck route? Has
No.
the city ever done that?
Not that I'm aware of, ma'am.
Okay. If that's something we want to ask them for, maybe we should do that formally, you know what I mean? Instead of just, because this is sort of like the resolutions we do about, planting trees and bird migration that I think are,
More like proclamations.
Yeah, it's
than
like this
particular-
is what this feels like. It's like a proclamation. Please don't drive down Bremer Avenue in your big truck. And right now, because we have no bridge, it is an alternate truck route. So is Lover's Lane, probably, unfortunately. But
I guess I don't want to phrase it as I want the trucks to go down Bremer. I guess I do want the trucks to go down. The difference is one is a state highway that the state maintains, and the other is a road that the city built and funded entirely on our own.
yeah, I understand that. I'm just saying if we had campaign
I'm not-
television ads, I can see this in a television ad.
Yeah, I'm not confident that the state will help us at all if we suddenly get trucks going down the Parkway and 10th Avenue and wearing that down a little bit more or whatnot, that we can go to the state and say, can you help us with repair? They'll just look at it and go, no, that's your street. And it'll be on us to fix it versus Bremer Avenue, which is a state highway, which took us forever to get them to look at addressing as well. And that was a state highway. So, we spent
So how does
$10
this
million
resolution-
on the Parkway and the bridge.
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah.
that's money out of the city's budget that we would have to look at for repair. So to me, the trucks are gonna go where the trucks go. It's
Yeah.
there. We're not restricting the trucks from going on it, but to encourage them, to me, I don't like that language to say to encourage it, or to even put up signs to say alternative truck route. I would be like,
So help me understand how this resolution pertains to what you said about it's a state road versus one we paid for.
so if we have encouraged
This
further, if
resolution.
we encourage further traffic onto Cedar River Parkway and the 10th Avenue, which this one resolution does, that means there are going to be more traffic on that, theoretically, if we're encouraging it. Which means
Okay.
it's going to wear down the road usage on that more. And the city is responsible entirely for the repair of that. The
Okay.
state won't help us with that at all.
So you're opposed to this?
I'm opposed to this because, you know, if the trucks go on it, we built it because, one, we needed a flood-proof bridge. That was one of the big things, and two, it was part of our long-range plan to have that corridor. But the state didn't help us at all with it, and I
Right.
don't anticipate the state helping us in the future with it, should there be
Right.
additional
But
repairs.
there's also a benefit to Waverly, and I don't know how you weigh that monetarily, but there is a benefit to not have the trucks downtown.
There is.
There is. So there's a cost to take Cedar River Parkway, 10th Avenue. There is. But we also have the benefit on the other end.
That it's more pleasant downtown, there's not the congestion. I mean, you build roads so people will drive on them, right? And I think anytime you build a road, you know that there's gonna be repairs. And you hope that they come in 20 and 25 years rather than 5 years, right? We thought about that when we talked about when we should redo Cedar Lane, right, before or after the bridge project. And so I don't know that us making this policy is gonna change where anybody drives in their truck. I would say there, and you own a trucking firm, I would say they probably wanna drive where it's easiest
They want to take
and
the
fastest.
bypass 9 out of 10 times. They
Yeah,
wanna take the
unless they're
bypass,
lost,
for
or
sure.
have to go downtown, or have to go to Nestle, which is probably what most of our downtown trucks are doing, you know?
Well, the issue is, there's really three things here. The issue is, one, do we want traffic to go on the parkway rather than downtown, truck traffic to go on the parkway rather than downtown? Do we want truck traffic to go downtown rather than the parkway, or do we really not care? I mean, it's not a big deal, frankly. You know, we're not debating the future of the world here. You know, I truthfully figured that this would be kind of a no-brainer, or that we wouldn't even get to the point of voting in it, that it wouldn't be motioned or seconded. But to me, I would like to see, since we built the road, partly because we wanted traffic to go on it, that we want to encourage traffic to go on it. And I've talked a number of times with different people about putting a truck route sign there. I've talked with the chamber about having a truck route sign there. Everybody seems to be, yeah, let's do it, but it doesn't move forward. And part of that is, it's not going to happen unless this body says we want to encourage trucks to use that route. We're not going to put a truck route sign, alternate truck route sign there at the entrances to the parkway unless we want to have trucks use it. I don't care either way, I really don't. I think I would like to see trucks use the parkway, not go through downtown for a lot of different reasons, even if it means that we're going to have some repair costs down the road. I think we put the road in for a reason. The reason was to have traffic use it. Now we say, oh, we don't want traffic messing up our nice, pretty road. Let's have it go somewhere else. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
That's not what I'm saying, that I don't want traffic to use it. I'm saying I don't want to be, that's our primary, trying to direct all of the traffic to go there. Because there are trucks that are gonna go through downtown, and it makes more sense for them.
As a downtown business owner, I think there's been a significant change open in the amount of, truck traffic that I see going past my studio at any time of day, any day of the week. Certainly trucks still come down when they have to make deliveries to those of us who significantly less than it was before the parkway. And I feel like it's much, much safer for our downtown patrons in terms of crossing streets and parking and getting out of cars and just being downtown and patronizing the businesses down there. I think it's been a big improvement since we have less truck traffic. And I can only guess, but I think if I were a trucker, I'd much rather take the parkway than navigate downtown too.
I would agree that I think that having trucks on the parkway is good for the trucks, and it is good for downtown Bramer Avenue. I do question the purpose of the resolution. I mean, in the sense that Rod has said, if we vote this down, there's no discernible impact. If we approve it, there's no discernible impact. So it seems like we're just talking for the sake of talking. And I mean, when Rod says like, there's three possible options, I think there's a fourth, which is I don't think we need an extra resolution that doesn't say anything. So that's.
Ditto, Brian.
Ditto,
100%.
yes. But now we've got one because we motioned it
Yeah,
through,
I mean,
right?
it's just.
We could amend it to ask the DOT to formally designate
Well,
the parkway
and
as an alternative truck route.
I would also say that putting signs up on Highway 3 is not an easy thing to do.
Right,
I mean, we've tried
right.
to put better
Exactly.
signage or flashing lights or things so that
Yeah.
people can see the parkway coming as they're coming down Highway 3, and Iowa DOT has not been amenable to that. So even putting up a sign that says truck route, I
No, I
don't
know.
think we're going to be able to get that through Iowa DOT.
We haven't asked yet, I agree. It
We
could
haven't
be a
asked,
very
but-
hard
But the things that we
task.
have asked for,
Yeah.
they have not been responsive to.
Yeah.
Well, this was largely in response to the request that we put weight restrictions on that road, which I did not feel was appropriate. So this is basically a way to formulate a response to that request that, no, we really aren't intending on putting weight restrictions on the road.
I don't know
You know,
if we
we-
needed a
we-
resolution to do that.
We would need a resolution if we were going to put weight restrictions
Right.
on it. This is basically the other side of the coin that says we're not going to put weight restrictions on it. So rather than just simply letting the, letting the issue drop, that it was important to have a response. We've talked the response out. I'm not sure that's really necessary to pass the resolution to go forward. I think we've talked enough about it, frankly.
Excuse me, I don't believe we had. John Campbell, 1001 10th Avenue Southwest. Several statements to come up from the council. One is the fact that a business owner on council states that she's much happier with the decrease in truck traffic by her business. I own property that was on a 2-lane road that I dearly loved as a small acreage. 2-lane road that 10-foot clearance was all that could go underneath the railroad bridge. The serenity of where we bought the property and the way we had it fixed up tells me that that's the way I wanted it. The road was changed, and that greatly decreased. The speed limit was increased, and that greatly decreased it. Highway 3 bypass was approached by the state, and that was to be what you now call the Parkway and 10th. The state wanted nothing to do with funding any of that, as you well know. So the city steps up and spends, I believe 9 million was the figure. And now I've got an enormous amount of inconvenience in front of my property. And when the plants opened up in Shell Rock, it went tenfold. I can't believe, as many years as I've been a resident in Waverly, owned property, businesses, and everything else, that the council is going to treat me with the disrespect of putting a resolution just to counteract my request for a decrease in speed limit and weight limits. I think this is exactly why your audience at the council meetings is as terrible as it is. People are not comfortable with coming before this council. Thank you once again.
I just want to say that I think that, you presented us, Mr. Campbell, with two separate issues. One was the speed limit issue, which we are going to look at through a traffic study and engineering study. I think the other issue is the weight limits for trucks. And I'm not an expert in that, but but I don't think that we're going to be putting a scale there and weighing trucks. I think that we're elected to make decisions that are difficult, and it's always difficult to hear a citizen come who's passionate about something, and change is hard, especially when a town expands and grows and it affects people's property, and as you put it, the serenity of your property. So I empathize with that. The toughest part is, I think, about making these decisions is we're supposed to try to look at the city as a whole and what is best for the city as a whole, and sometimes that contradicts what might be best for an individual property owner. And so these aren't easy decisions, and I think the fact that we're discussing it means that we are trying to show respect for the issues you have. Now, I agree, I'm not pleased that this resolution exists, because I think there were other ways to go about proclaiming that we'd like people to not drive through downtown. But I do think that we are going to look at the speed limit issue, and the fact that we now have this resolution, we're stuck with something that might not change anything if we don't pass it, and might not change anything if we do pass it, and so I agree, I don't think it's useful.
It is.
As a resolution.
I'm going to go ahead and stop the discussion, and we're
That's
not going
fine.
to get back into a back and forth on this.
So why don't we call the
We've
question?
had the discussion on it, so I think we go ahead and go to a roll call vote.
Wolf,
No.
Bergen,
No.
Shinnick,
Yes.
Jones,
No.
Kangas,
No.
Myers,
No.
Rocky.
No.
By a vote of 1 yes, 6 no's, resolution 24-147 does not pass. Item I is reports from boards and commissions. We have our reports from Leisure Services, Historic Preservation, the Airport Commission, and the Waverly Senior Center calendar for August. Item J, staff updates.
Oh, yes, sir, we have a few tonight. Start with Sarah, if you would.
I wanted to say that the library is going to be closed starting next Monday through Labor Day, so August 12th through September 2nd, so that we can move shelving and books and furniture back into the renovated portion of the library, and then start operating out of that part while the rest of the renovation is done. So we have that closure, but we are, every weekday during that period of time, we are going to have the bookmobile out in the parking lot from 2:30 to 4:30 every day. So that should help a little bit, I hope.
Yeah, tomorrow, August 6th, will be our 12th annual National Night Out in Coleman Park from 4:30 to 7:30. Tonight, to come out and meet your local law enforcement. It's meant to be community building. Thank you to all the sponsors that stepped up to help us with inflatables, free food, and drinks while they last. But it is a good night to come out and meet your local law enforcement.
This Thursday in Coleman Park at the amphitheater, there's going to be a jazz ensemble performance by the U.S. Air Force Band of Mid-America. So feel free to come out and watch that. It is a free show. Begins at 6 o'clock in the evening and goes until 7:30.
That's all we have tonight, sir.
Okay, so we'll go to city council comments. Dr. Bergen.
Well, if you were paying attention, you would have noticed that the Bramer Avenue Bridge has closed today. So we all know that nobody likes construction, and it's going to be annoying to everyone, and I suppose the only thing worse than construction is never having construction and having worn down roads. So, I mean, I don't like the construction any more than anybody else does, but I would appreciate everyone showing grace and patience as we all interact, and hot tempers does not make construction go easier. I would encourage that people who are using Cedar Lane as an alternate route, please respect the speed limit, the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. I know there are lots of people who drive that road who appreciate how how much nicer it is after the reconstruction and the repair, but that does not mean that it's an excuse to go 45 miles an hour down that road. So there are people who live there, some people we like, so please respect that speed limit. And anyone who wishes to discuss city council business, I'll be at the poorhouse after the meeting.
I think Dr. Rothy really made a good point that we're elected to make decisions that are for the best of the town as a whole, and oftentimes those decisions are difficult. They're not always what individuals want to hear, but when we weigh the public good versus some individuals, that's just part of our job. And we do all take it seriously up here. So, just want to say that.
Ms. Myers?
Just want to echo Brian's comments about the bridge closure and to remind people that, as he said, none of us really relish this. And I know that there are a lot of questions out there, at least that I see online, and I think there will be more in the months to come. Just to remind people, if there are questions about the construction project itself, that's all in the hands of the DOT, and they do have what I think looks like a pretty decent site that has frequent updates of all of their construction projects. If you have any questions or concerns that have to do with municipal services or law enforcement, those things obviously need to be directed to city staff. And if you have questions or concerns about the business community, the chamber is heading that up, and they have a very promising task force of people that are dedicating their volunteer time to try to help support businesses during this time. So,
Ms. Branco?
Nothing tonight, thanks.
Dr. Rothy?
I just want to thank the Bremer County Fair Committee and everybody who contributed to putting on a fair. I went down there a couple of times, once for the rodeo, to watch a family member rodeo, and then I went down to look at some 4-H exhibits and went to the cow barn, which was actually in the horse barn. So, but it was hot, but people appeared to be having a good time, so I wanted to thank the committee. And hopefully they'll be out at their new site next year, fingers crossed. But
Ms. Wolf?
I just want to say thank you for the discussion. I'm much more of a listener than I am, if that's not obvious. But I really, really appreciate everybody's thoughtful consideration of everything this evening. And if anybody wants to talk about council business, I will be at Get Roasted tomorrow from 11 to 12:30.
I don't have anything else to add. Then I guess I'll continue Mayor Mark's comments to Waverly be kind, unless you've got German kids in which they're kinder. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.